This video is part 3 of 4, where we talk about the functional writing task or the business letter on the grade 9 PAT. Here we're going to talk a little bit about formatting the letter. Again, here you need to be meticulous. Oh, have you looked that word up yet? So we'll talk about the heading. We'll talk about where the date goes, how many lines there are between one thing and another. We'll talk about your greeting. We'll talk about your salutation and whose name you sign. All of this, again, is one part of the marking of the grade 9 PAT letter. Markers are looking to reward you for doing good things rather than penalize you. So
here we are going to talk about the business letter format. Again, this is meticulous, and you've looked that up. Essentially, you have to be very careful about things you do in this letter. So a letter will look something like this. Each section of this is important. It has its own particular details that need to be followed. So the first section is called heading. That heading is the address of the person sending the letter. So in this case, it's Kelly Jones' address, formatted in this way with the box number. You could put in P.O. Box in there. Eastview, Alberta. You'll notice Eastview, the town, and then Alberta is capitals, those two letters capitalized. And on the same line, you have the postcode. And then underneath that is the date. No lines or no spaces or carriage returns or enters between the address and that date. The heading is your address, the person, and the date is the date you're writing the letter. And it's really super important that you don't put your name up there. So the person writing the letter, here in this case, Kelly Jones. After the date, then you need to include 4 enters or 4 lines of blankness. Then you want the inside address, and you'll see that, of course, you have Dale Weber and is the mayor. It's at the town office. So the name there is important. Where it's being sent is important. And then the address. So it's the name and the address of the person to whom you are writing. And it's 4 lines below the heading on the computer. So the next section is the salutation. Well, this is the dear. And it can be Mr. or Mrs. depending on the person you are writing to. It's that person's, I don't even know what to call that. It's their Mr., Mrs., Ms., Miss, and then their last name with a colon after the end of it. So it's dear, Mr., Mrs., Miss, or Miss, and the last person's name, and then you end with a colon. The body is the next section. The body we'll talk about in much more detail. That uses BP Dog. So it's the main part of the letter. It has 3 to 5 paragraphs. It follows the BP Dog format, and we'll go into that in much more detail. It's all kind of left justified. That means it's shoved up against the far left side, and there's no indentation there. The next section is the closing, and that is a word followed by a comma. So yours truly or sincerely, and then after that, a signature, and then the name of you, the person writing the letter. It's usually the bottom left corner of the letter, and it's directly underneath the body. And the first word should be capitalized, and then it's always followed by a comma. So sincerely, comma. And then the signature, it's the full name of the person you pretend to be, and it's signed directly below the closing is where it's happened. And the signature, this signature should be written in.
There you have it. You've got the task, you've watched that video. You've got the envelope format, you've watched that video. Now you've got the one on the format of the letter itself. And lastly, of course, 4 of 4, where we talk about what you actually write in it, how to be persuasive.